I think the biggest news here is that I finally had a haircut and no longer look like a woman. I just look like a butch lesbian. The Bourne Legacy. Okay, so the Bourne Legacy kind of takes place alongside the Bourne Ultimatum, where Jason Bourne is kind of bringing attention to the government and the various projects that they've got going, and that causes the government to try and shut down all of their projects, meaning agents such as Jeremy Renner are under peril and have to go on the run. So Jeremy Renner is forced to go on the run from the CIA, and he bumps into Rachel Weisz, and the two of them, through a series of events, have to combine and outrun the CIA to survive. At least I think it's the CIA. It could be some other, you know, I could have got that wrong. Could be some other government or department. You know, some nasty men are after them. Now, first off, it doesn't really utilise the concept of playing alongside the Bourne film. For the first half an hour to 45 minutes, it kind of features heavily, and plot points from the Bourne Ultimatum are featured within the Bourne Legacy, but after that the idea of it's kind of just forgotten and it could just be a film about anything. Now let's first talk about Jeremy Renner. Now a lot of people have complained that you feel the absence of Matt Damon in this film, and I didn't feel that. I thought that he was a really good character and a really humanised character for what is essentially an assassin that he's playing. And it was interesting to see how he interacted with different situations, because unlike Matt Damon's Jason Bourne, who had amnesia and wasn't quite sure who he was, Jeremy Renner knows exactly who he is, so he's able to become quite a powerful presence within these situations. And then there's Rachel Weisz's character as well, who's working in the project that works alongside these agents, and she comes into contact with Jeremy Renner, and the two of them then join forces and become on the run. And there's actually a lot of chemistry between them, a lot like in the first Bourne film, The Bourne Identity, how there was a lot of chemistry between Jason Bourne and his love interest during that, and there's a lot of chemistry between these two characters in this. And then for the main government villain type character, there's Edward Norton, and I think he's really underused, and he basically just comes in scenes just to shout commands, just like, shoot him, take the shot, press the button. And I like Edward Norton very much, and I was really looking forward to him in this film, and he just feels very one-dimensional, and just it feels like there's no real purpose for him than to just push the story along at times. And now what made the original Bourne films great was the brisk fashion that they went through. I mean, the Bourne Identity and the Bourne Supremacy weren't as strong as the Bourne Ultimatum, which was just a snap pace of just a bit of plot, then an action scene, a bit of plot and then an action scene. This one feels completely different to those films. I mean, at time feels like it's poorly paced. I mean, it can go on for good stretches with it's just people in rooms talking, which I don't have a problem with, but when the stuff they're talking about isn't very interesting. And then when the action does finally hit the screen, it's very bland. The writer from the original Bourne films has come on to direct this one, and he doesn't really have a directional sense when he's shooting action. He tries to take the shaky cam technique that came quite a trademark of the original Bourne films, and can't quite utilise it the way that he intends it to look on the screen. However, there are a few, like a couple of second fist brawls throughout the film, and they feel very brutal and realistic, which I wish I'd saw more of, because he was quite well at directing those certain small set pieces. But overall the action is just very generic, and it's nothing that will surprise you or even remotely, you know, engage you at times. You get like the traditional infiltration sequence, you get a rooftop chase, you know, a vehicle chase, a hand-to-hand combat scene. It's just nothing new. You've seen this all before and done so much better in other films. Another major problem I had as well, it was very poorly edited. I mean, there were times when it was just cutting between so many different bits of plot at the beginning, and this is plot that a lot of people already know about, and it was a lot of catch-up. I understand that some people may have not seen the original Bourne film, so it's trying to introduce them to this world, but it just felt very jerky and not really welcoming to people who were familiar with these films, which is really what it should have been made for. I mean, it cuts from Jason Bourne, and then it'll cut to a completely different character, then to the CIA, and then it'll be a flashback scene, and it was just very jarring and completely took me out of the experience. I feel like if they just re-edited it and cut quite a bit out, it could have been a more concise, more action-packed film, because there's just long stretches where nothing happens. There's bits where it's just going all over the place. It just feels very messy. And then the worst thing of all, it feels like it's missing a final section of the film. It feels like it has an action scene towards the end, and you feel like it's building up towards a big crescendo, but then it just ends, and despite the, you know, over 2 hour runtime, it feels unfinished and incomplete. And I feel like if they just re-edited it and reshot some stuff, you know, wrapped it up a bit neater at the end, it could have been a better film. So overall, I was really disappointed with the Bourne Legacy. It felt really slow, and it just felt very generic to me. I think it's a film, if you saw it on a Saturday evening or a rainy day, you'd be semi-satisfied with it, but to go out and justify the purchase, and to justify the actual film being made, it just doesn't feel necessary. So overall, I'm going to give the Bourne Legacy 2 out of 5. I think if you love the trilogy, there may be a couple of things in here that will entice you to go, but I do not think it does justice to the whole saga as a whole, and I think that it's a missed opportunity and could have been so much better. And as usual, if you like this review, just click subscribe and you can see more.